Welcome to Suburban Death Metal Dad Recommends, Episode 9, where I'll be talking about the Japanese melodic death metal band Intestine Baalism. So I first heard about them around the time their debut album was released, An Anatomy of the Beast, in 1997. Maybe seen an ad in a magazine, and that I remember it wasn't a distro that I shot from at that time, but, back then funds are limited. I have to be more selective about what I buy, and for whatever reason, I just passed on it, and which turned out to be a mistake. Anyway, fast forward to 2003, I'm living in Japan for work, and this record store I was going to often that had great metal was playing their second album, Banquet in the Darkness, when I was in the store, and I immediately thought it was awesome. Just killer guitar work, very memorable riffs. The lead work was just insane, killer vocals, some deep vocals and then some high screams, and, just really, really great death metal. And so I picked that up, and then about, within that year, I was fortunate enough, I got to see him live. And while I was living over there in Japan, I saw him live like 4 times, and, every time was great. And so I remembered one of the last times I saw them, they were talking about working on a new album, and they actually played a song at the show. Actually, it was a cover song, not an original, and it was Morbid Angel, Fall from Grace, and they said that was going to be on their next album. So eventually it came out in late 2008 called Ultimate Instinct, and Fall from Grace was not on the album, but either way, it was really killer for sure. And so, unfortunately, there hasn't been, other than reissue the demo with some live stuff, there hasn't been a new studio album from the band since Ultimate Instinct in 2008, which is a real shame because, all 3 albums are insanely awesome melodic death metal, and I think more people should check them out. And probably just, they don't have a lot of exposure, so it's probably the reason some people, or a lot of people maybe in the underground, haven't really heard them or hadn't bothered checking them out. So basically, they're still active. They play live. It's just they haven't released any new studio albums, which, like I said, it's unfortunate. So basically at this time, I'll show some stuff from my collection. So I'll basically go in chronological order and start with their 1994 demo, The Energumenos, which is Latin for possessed by the devil, one who is possessed by the devil. And it's actually a really good demo. This is the reissue with the live tracks and not the original cover. And yeah, it's a really killer demo. There's a prologue, epilogue, if you want to say, kind of like intro, outro, kind of creepy, and as well as a song called Sadism of Hallucinogenic Addiction, which does not appear on any of their studio albums. Wasn't re-recorded for anything. And the sound is very good, and it's, basically with the intro, outro, if you want to call it that, there's 6 tracks, and then, like I said, there's 4 live tracks from an appearance at the Asakusa Death Fest in 2018, and they're very killer, great sound. So if you come across this, I think it was released in 2019 on Obliteration Records. If you're a fan of the band and you don't have this, it's definitely worth getting, in my opinion. So like I mentioned earlier, their debut album, An Anatomy of the Beast, came out in 1997, and it's a really great melodic death metal album with a Swedish sound, basically, and just tons of killer hooks. And they do an acoustic instrumental song, Burn Down Effigy. It's great. And Anatomy of the Beast is one of my favorite songs, in addition to like Cannibal Sodom, and then Blasphemy Resurrected, which goes into the place their gods left behind. Just absolutely killer death metal, great album. And in 2003, they released this killer melodic death metal album called Banquet in the Darkness, and just tons of killer melodies, and it's also really aggressive and super catchy songs, and just an absolute great album. Opener Flesh for the 12th Omnipotent, into the title track Banquet in the Darkness. Great songs. The Genuine Tone, Memory is one of my favorite ones. Really dark sounding. Um, a Night Appears from the Lake of Blood, super catchy riff in that one. It's just a really great album. And like the debut, there's a like an acoustic piece. It's really cool. So definitely a must-have in my opinion. And then in 2008, they released their third full-length, Ultimate Instinct, and this one's, I think they intended to go back to maybe a sound on their first album as opposed to the second, and I guess they achieved that to great extent. And it's I would say a little less catchy than the first two, but still a really great death metal album, and a bit darker I think than the first two as well. You know, Opener Agony in the Stone Chamber is very cool. I really like the song Dark Surface, super catchy, and this killer drum fill that he plays towards the beginning. And then, title track Ultimate Instinct is just amazing. That's one to definitely check out. And Galaxy of the Black Sun, also very cool. So basically, all three albums, in addition to the demo, they're all killer. They're definitely worth picking up. I highly recommend them. I had saved this. It was just information about a show I went to. It was actually the first one in 2003 when I saw them, and just hung on to that. And I do have just two vinyls. The debut album, really cool artwork, and this is a reissue. Has a couple of the demo tracks on this as well, not the full demo, unfortunately. And then the other vinyl I have is Ultimate Instinct, and really cool artwork. It's kind of hard to see because it's very dark, but it is a really cool album cover, I think. They did reissue the second album a few years ago. I didn't end up picking up a copy. Kind of regret it, but either way. So there you have it. Intestine Baalism, super killer melodic death metal band from Japan. Has kind of a Swedish sound. I think maybe just because of lack of exposure, distribution of their albums, maybe they don't get talked about. They don't tour a lot outside of Japan. They have gone to a fest in the Netherlands a few years ago, but besides that, I'm not sure what else they've done outside of their home country, but definitely check them out. Cool. See you in the next one.